Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another show. We're going to put in, try to take a look at this little gem here from Tom Rabbit from, when did he put this one out? I think just yesterday. Darth Dawkins versus a guy named Jeff. Not this Jeff. And this was a conversation he had on Clubhouse. I can never see these things, by the way, anymore. I do have a Clubhouse membership. But I don't really spend too much time there. Darth Dawkins has blocked me in a way that sort of defies my understanding of the normal Clubhouse rules, to the point where, like, someone that I follow whose rooms I can normally see, I can't see them once Darth Dawkins goes in there. It's really weird. I don't know if that's normally how Clubhouse works, but it's strange. So anyway, so I never actually see these when they happen. I don't get notifications of them or anything like that. So I didn't think he was spending any time over in Clubhouse, at least not much, and yet here he was. So without getting into too much of this one is kind of Darth gets into some weird stuff here. A kind of a particularly flimsy, long-winded explanation that doesn't really go anywhere. And he actually delves into a little bit of a transcendental argument for God kind of thing. But yeah, I'm just going to play this one. The particular clip that I am looking at is one that Tom made available for me that doesn't have his commentary added to it. That, to me, that really doesn't make much of a difference. I would have covered it anyway, but I was happy that I did it. So I'm using that one. The one that I've linked in the description is Tom Rabbit's original one that's on his channel with his commentary. I really recommend that you watch it. Tom's commentary is good. He's probably going to hit on some things different from me. I didn't hear anything from him that I disagreed with, but his some of his takes, he's probably gonna I'll likely end up emphasizing something that he either wouldn't have tackled or didn't care about. So just see how long-winded I get tonight. All right, I'm gonna get this one playing. As usual, let me know in the live chat, volume issues, video issues, playback issues, whatever. If you hear me snoring, whatever. And then, of course, thanks everybody for actually showing up. There's a pretty decent turnout. So yeah, we're gonna get going on this one. For anybody that missed it, Tom Rabbit had another. He had a premiere about an hour and a half ago. It was also pretty good. I will be going over that one. I think I actually like the videos that I do about Jay Robin now more than Darth Dawkins, because I think Jay Robbins has really kind of pulled neck and neck with Darth Dawkins on the obnoxiousness meter. Might even be pulling ahead in some cases. So here we go.
Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
From which perspective? Natural laws?
Do you believe there's a cause and effect relationship in the chronology of events?
Rephrase that question and calm down. You're not getting bullied. Calm down.
So this is the little game.
I like this guy. Whoever he's talking to is like, calm down. You're not being bullied here. Just knock it off. I'm surprised that Darth actually kind of just glosses over that. He doesn't get super triggered. But Tom mentions this, I think, in his commentary too. You can already tell he's talking with this guy. They've obviously been talking for a little bit. It doesn't take long to trigger Darth, but Darth is already getting good and worked up. And kind of pay attention to what he adds. Darth is actually talking. I think it has something to do with like the causal principle or something like that. And then Jeff comes in later.
Game you play when I ask you legitimate philosophical questions. I ask you a straightforward question. You give a response that does not address the question, and then when I point out you didn't answer the question, you try to dodge again. Do you believe in the causal principle?
To answer your question, I need to understand what you're asking first.
I've explained what the causal principle is. Do you want me to explain it again?
Hey, Darth. Let me jump in. Hey, Darth. Why do facts need grounding in a disembodied mind?
I'll be glad to speak with you, Jeff, momentarily. But it's interesting. Why is it that you're talking to me in this room, but you refuse to talk with me in other rooms, Jeff?
I've talked to you in rooms before.
No, is this the same Jeff that I'm thinking of here? Yeah, you're the same guy. So don't lie, Jeff. You outright
I'm not lying.
Talk with me in another room, unless you're the same Jeff that I'm thinking of.
I've not. You've called me up and wanted to have conversation, but look, why do facts need grounding in the disembodied mind?
Okay, repeat the question again. Now, since you hold on a second, before you repeat the question, it's very nice of you to jump in and to save this guy from philosophically drowning. Okay. Now, what?
So this is fun. So Darth has to make sure that he lets everybody know that Jeff's a scumbag and he's here to white knight for the previous guy. Now the previous guy he was haranguing over the causal principle, right? But with Jeff, Jeff's already asked the question: why do facts need to be grounded in a disembodied mind? Which Darth has probably only half heard, and that's being generous. So I don't know how much that really has to do with white knighting the other guy, but in this particular case, Darth doesn't have any problem switching targets here, and he's immediately going to get kind of obnoxious with Jeff. So yeah, keep that in mind. But that's the central question here. Jeff is asking, why do facts need to be grounded in a disembodied mind? JC Nod says, you think Darth thought that was you? No, I think there's another guy named Jeff something, I think, maybe either in here or in politics that Darth may have been thinking of. He's convinced that he's got the right guy. It doesn't sound like he does. I don't think so. I think the one thing that I think that Darth is at least familiar with me, because he tends to think of me and my brother as a matched set since we're twins. And I don't think he can tell us apart, especially not by voice. So yeah, I don't think he's thinking that it's me in any sense, and he's got me good and blocked on just about everything that he's involved in, which is a little fucking weird. While this is going on, let me play this here, and I'll just let you listen to this. Jeff is gonna get a chance to ask this question again. Actually, he's gonna get a chance to ask it a couple of times, and then yeah, boys, well, right out of the gate. Yeah, he's going to ask it a couple of times, and Darth's going to launch into a little bit of an explanation. So I'm going to just play this through, and then there's going to be a quiz after. So pay attention as much as you can to Darth's explanation.
What's your question?
Why do facts need grounding in a disembodied mind?
I don't understand the question. Oh, do you mean why do facts need grounding in the disembodied mind of God?
Yes.
Okay. Because in order for us to know ultimately why anything is, okay, what is ultimate will either be a mind or not a mind. We would only therefore be able to identify and defend if what is ultimate is a mind, if that mind has the sufficient characteristics to reveal itself, and therefore that mind is behind the metaphysical contextual background information as to why anything is or happens. So without that which is ultimate being a mind and having the necessary properties and attributes, then what is ultimate, right, the actual context of why anything is, if there is something, would not be identifiable or defensible. And therefore, every so-called fact would not be a fact because it has no metaphysical context. Now, do you believe facts require context for their instantiation and intelligibility, Jeff?
Okay. So if any of you are capable of staying awake and not nodding off due to that rambling, nearly incoherent answer, I wrote it down in honor of Darth Dawkins. He loves it when people write down what he says. And so I've got it right here. Hello, Mr. J.
Jefferson.
All right, I was just getting ready to get into this. So yeah, brace yourselves for something super boring here. I'm just going to lay this out because I took the time to listen to this real slow, transcribe it. So the question again, why do facts need grounding in a disembodied mind? Darth reworded that, and Jeff approved of it. Why do facts need grounding in the disembodied mind of God? Now, his answer begins thusly, and for anyone listening in the chat, maybe throw out some things you think are going wrong with this. For me, the first problem is right at the beginning. In order for us to know ultimately why anything is, what is ultimate will either be a mind or not a mind. That was sentence 1. Sentence 2, we would only therefore be able to identify and defend if what is ultimate is a mind, if that mind has the sufficient characteristics to reveal itself, and therefore that mind is behind the metaphysical contextual background information as to why anything is or happens. Third sentence, so without that which is ultimate being a mind and having the necessary properties and attributes, then what is ultimate, the actual context of why anything is, there is something, would not be identifiable or defensible. And therefore, every so-called fact would not be a fact because it has no metaphysical context. So buried in that is is something kind of interesting. But at the very beginning, notice what's going on here. Darth says, in order for us to know ultimately why anything is. This is a guy who is frequently telling skeptics that they can't know what anything is. They can't identify any kind of fact. They can't assert a fact at all. But now he's appealing to the reason why. What is ultimate will either be a mind or not a mind. Now, I don't know how that has anything to do with trying to identify why there is something rather than nothing, but that's where he's going with that. When he gets into this other sentence, so without that which is ultimate, then Darth's mind, that's a mind, a disembodied superbrain, being a mind and having the necessary properties and attributes, that's a little bit of, and that's an interesting add-on too. Then what is ultimate? The actual context of why anything is, if there is something, would not be identifiable or defensible.
Yeah, it sounds like he's conflating truth with knowledge, and all knowledge is contingent on.
But the interesting thing about this,
contingent on the knowledge of God.
Why is the mind?
Yeah.
So if you've got two people standing in a field looking out, and I was telling you this example earlier, Jay. You've got two individuals standing in a field looking at a tree. One of them is an atheist, and one of them is a Christian. Let's just say it's a Christian, a believer, right? And while they're having this discussion, they can agree that there is a tree there. They can agree on the type of tree. They can agree that the tree has been aged, and it's got a little placard hanging on it that says how old it is, when it probably originally sprouted, roughly. And they can even agree on explanations as to how it is, when it started, how, it needs nutrients in the soil and it needs sunlight to grow, etc. But then the Christian looks at the atheist and says, but why is it? Why is this tree here at all? Why isn't it something else? Why isn't it a rose bush or a rock or the Eiffel Tower? Or, again, why be anything at all? And the skeptics are, well, I don't know why. And then, so is the Christian then going to just assume, oh, well, then all those other facts are irrelevant? You don't have you haven't. I mean, answering those kinds of questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then trying to say, well, because you don't know why, all the other facts that you know about this don't add up. You couldn't know what they are. Does not track. That does not make any sense.
Yeah, it kind of, what you're talking about there, kind of, sorry.
I think he's been.
Sorry, work mic. It kind of goes back to like something that I picked up from watching Tom Rabbit's video from earlier, when Jay Robbins said something about worldview, like basically things operating on a particular worldview. I'm like, do they think that perception is what guides everything? And it was just a question that kind of popped into my head based on what Jay Robin was arguing with that Murphy guy. But it was the way Jay Robin put it, it kind of reminds me of this. Basically, all this is based on one worldview, right? So the perception of a deity is what tells us what is actual.
Kind of, yeah.
I think,
but the odd thing about this is that, like, that thing gives us the existence of this thing gives us context for knowing about all of the other things. Like, yeah, but that thing doesn't have context. It has context in relationship to all the things that are dependent on it, but it's a fact that doesn't, like, and this is the ultimate in special pleading. That's a fact that doesn't require any of these other things. Well, it's a non-contingent fact. It doesn't have to have that. Like, but why not?
But it seems to be contingent. But it seems to be contingent on truth, because they keep conflating truth and knowledge. Right. What we know is not what a person knows. What a person claims to know isn't always what is actual. So is God bound? Is truth bound by God, or is knowledge make truth? Is it God's knowledge that makes things true?
Yeah, who knows? Well, and I don't think they're comfortable with any of that. So, but anyway, let's go on, and because he's going to get into. But really, I don't think that he's really answered the question, because what he wants to know is, wait, you're trying to say that it's. I want to know why you think facts are dependent on an ultimate mind, and he's basically just answering in a very long-winded way, because they have to be. But he's not giving any kind of really, there's no, and it's really weird, right? Like the question that he has for atheists is, well, why? Why is any of this stuff there? And you can't answer that, and so you can't really know anything to be certain. And then in this case, it's like this guy's like, well, wait, what's the reason that facts all have to be grounded in the existence of this disembodied mind? And Darth can't give a how. He just wants to say, no. It's maybe this is why they always throw in category error. They think it's a category error most of the time. Like, no, you're asking the wrong question. See, the fact that it's a disembodied mind that grounds all this stuff, that answers why there is stuff, because there's this creator thing out there, and all this stuff comes from it. Like, well, that's interesting, but now I have questions about the why of that creator thing. Oh, no, you don't need to ask questions about that, right? It explains itself. Like, does it? Yeah, it just is. Oh, okay. Why is that okay for that and not for this? Well, because it's God and this other stuff isn't. It's all just blanket assertions. It's just, but no, this is how it's categorized, and trust me, and the Bible. Like, all right, but that's not an explanation as to why do facts rely on a grounding, and that grounding must be this disembodied mind. It makes no sense.
Yeah, again, so it goes back to what I've said before. Facts don't make things true. Facts are just propositions or claims or statements that we accept to be true because they comport to things that are actual in reality.
Yeah, right.
He's trying to say the knowledge of certain things makes things true. God's knowledge revealed to us is what makes truth. I think that's what he's saying, but he'd probably just tap dance around that anyway. So, and I could be wrong. Maybe that's not what he's saying. But from the gist of these kind of conversations, it all seems to be conflating knowledge and truth with knowledge, and that God has to know it in order for us to know it. But knowing doesn't mean things are actual.
And it has to be actually real. Right. You can't, you can only know that which is true. Which, in certain epistemological circles might be the case, but it just seems to me like, yeah, if it's not ontologically there, then you can't really know it. Right. Which then gets you into questions like, well, how do you know about things like fiction? Like, I know about Sherlock Holmes. I know about, Tom Sawyer. Those aren't real. Those are just, concepts that somebody came up with in their head and then wrote them down in a book. So I don't know how he gets around some of this stuff, but let's go on.
Can you maybe put that, you said a lot there, maybe break that down as an argument, like a rule, premise to what you just said?
No, I asked you a question, Jeff.
Yeah, you didn't answer mine.
Yeah, I most certainly did. So stop lying.
Ooh.
Why do facts need grounding in a disembodied mind?
I just explained
you made an argument
to you. Okay, I gave you a scenario.
So,
in a world where we have God. Okay.
So can you put it in a premise form?
Now, at this moment, I will not.
In a world where we have God,
I just explained to you why.
We can only know what it knows.
Are you going to answer it, or are you going to dodge?
Well, I'll answer it if you'll.
I think that's funny. He's already flexing on Jeff, saying, I want to, are you going to answer my question? Or are you going to dodge? He's basically kind of dodged Jeff's question. Like, yeah, Jeff asked a pretty straightforward question, and the explanation that Darth attempted to give is not an informative one, right? It's more of just this. It's a very long-winded, wordy, philosophabal way of saying it has to be the case that everything's grounded on
Because-
this mind, definitionally.
Yeah, because Jeff is challenging the merit of the thing itself, whereas Darth is just basically making an excuse for, it seems to be that, I don't even know what he's doing anymore, but I think
Jeff is basically saying, he's like, look, I get what you're saying. I get that you believe that all these facts have to be grounded in this disembodied mind. I'm asking you why that's the case. Why do you think that's the case? And Darth's essential is just to repeat the assertion, all facts in order to be, his explanation is, well, if they're going to be intelligible, then they have to be reliant on a disembodied mind. They have to be grounded in a disembodied mind. To which Jeff can just go, you didn't answer my question. You just added intelligible. I get what you're saying. Facts or intelligible facts, or however, whatever else you want to use, whatever adjective you want to use to tack onto facts, you're still stating the same thing. They require being grounded in a disembodied mind. That's not an answer to what he's asking. He's asking why.
Yeah.
And Darth's response is to just repeat the assertion again. That's like, you're making the claim, and this is the same thing that people have been arguing about up and down, any social media. You've made the claim, but you're not making an argument. What's the argument for that? And all he wants to do is say, well, it has to be the case because of the way I've defined it. That's not an argument. That's a claim too.
Yeah, because if he tries to go to brute facts, I think brute facts still require merit to whatever that fact is indicating, right? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael, there was a basic about it. He talked a lot of circular nonsense and ended in a question with zero content otherwise. Darth purely turned Jeff's question around into a question at Jeff without answering his question at all. Yeah, he did. All right, here we go. Because we're getting pretty close. This one's not very long, and he gets into his little syllogism here.
Explain your answer so I can understand it.
Listen, Jeff, I'm more than willing to talk with you, but if you want to play this little game like a teenager, I'm not going to play that game.
Well, I didn't feel like I was. I'm asking you to clarify your argument in the form of using an inference rule with two premises to maybe break down what it is you're trying to say.
I said you have an alternative here that you can.
I'm going to address JL's thing here. He says, was Darth implying, quote, the intelligibility of facts requires a mind, so those facts must be grounded in an ultimate mind so they can be intelligible to non-ultimate minds? I think ultimately that's what he's usually trying to say. I think, but he did such a bad job explaining that. And the interesting thing, when I transcribed it, I don't think I found transcriptions for it. I just slowed it down a little bit and just typed out his response. It's weird listening to it slow down even a little bit, because you can hear him, like, as often as he has this conversation, you can tell by the way he's talking in that particular explanation that he's making up shit as he goes. And it's odd. Like, he's either making up shit as he goes, or he's struggling to pull in the different things that he's heard from Bonson and other apologists to try to make some kind of unassailable argument that this Jeff guy is not going to be able to take down. And he doesn't. It makes no sense. In fact, I will read it one more time. I'll do this once more. In order for us to know ultimately why anything is, what is ultimate will either be a mind or not a mind. So this is odd, right? So, like, in order for Jeff to really get to the heart of the question as to why things have to be grounded by a disembodied mind, he has to first accept that the foundation for why is the mind he's asking about, I suppose. Then we would only therefore be able to identify and defend if what is ultimate is a mind, if that mind has the sufficient characteristics to reveal itself, and therefore that mind is behind the metaphysical contextual background info as to why anything is or happens. So now he's not even talking about just a disembodied mind. It has to have the characteristics sufficient to reveal itself, and reveal itself in a way that we know it to be the metaphysical. It's providing the metaphysical contextual background information for all things that exist and all things that occur. And then this is where he really starts mush-mouthing things. So
can you pause for just a second? That's like saying that you have to have the concepts for the things to exist.
Kind of. I don't think he's getting. I don't even think he's getting. I think this is more just like a longer window way. You have to accept this as a reality in order to account for the rest of reality.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, so without that which is ultimate, being a mind and having the necessary properties and attributes, then what is ultimate? The actual context of why anything is, if there is something, would not be identifiable or defensible. And therefore, every so-called fact would not be a fact because it has no metaphysical context. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, things don't have to be the case because you can defend them being the case.
But not only that, but they do have context. The only context that seems to be missing here, if you go back to the very first statement, in order for us to know ultimately why anything is. So because you don't have an answer to the reason why something is, then it lacks metaphysical context. But it doesn't. There's plenty of other things that you can know about it. This idea that everything just falls apart without the why being answered, that is a connection that he has never been able to demonstrate. Why?
Yeah.
And I've asked him that before. I'm like, it doesn't make sense if I reference a fact and your worldview is true. That fact, if your worldview is true and all these facts are dependent upon a God, when I reference that fact references God. I am referencing God when I reference that fact. But he's like, no, you have to acknowledge that you're referencing God when you reference the fact which references God. Like that does not fucking make sense.
No, that does no, because if it's true on its own. It doesn't
Right.
have to be true because you say it is.
I can know what its color is. I can know what its age is. I can know what its height is. Do you know that God made it? That I'm not totally sure about. Well, then you can't know anything about its height, its age, its weight, its size. No, you can't know any of those other things. That's sort of what this is really bad precept stuff. This is the kind of shit that was discarded a long time ago. And I've said this before. Darth, for whatever reason, is back to circling this drain. I'm not. I really don't understand why. Because like this, even when he's talked to that Eddie Brutefax guy, that guy has tried to point out like you were conflating epistemology and ontology, and he definitely is here. And
Yeah, but that's what happens when you stop having those kind of conversations with people like Ozymandias and some of these other people that are very knowledgeable, more knowledgeable about these particular philosophical thoughts, ideas, concepts. Then what happens is once you've kind of found out that you can't meet that, then what you do is you do what Darth does. You go to Discord and you go to Clubhouse and you start basically recycling the same old shit to see if you can just dunk on atheists. It doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Yeah.
You just want to see if they can beat the same shit that he's already been beaten on before. So as long as he's quote unquote, he thinks he's quote unquote winning, that just fills that ego for him.
Yeah.
But that's just my speculation on his motives.
Yeah, Alpha K91. I still want to know how an all-powerful disembodied mind that farts out universes in a single day can only be detected if you believe the Bible. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that if Darth Dawkins heard that question, he would say, no, that person is misrepresenting my position. But it's very easy, I think, for anybody that has even listened to Darth for a little while, or even for years, say, yeah, it kind of sounds like that's what you're saying. And it's not just that they have to believe the Bible, right? He doesn't seem to even care whether or not you're convinced it's true. All he wants you to do is acknowledge it. I want you to bend the knee and acknowledge that the Bible is right. I don't give a shit if you're confused. I don't give a shit that you're not convinced. I don't give a shit that you have questions. You will acknowledge that that's where things come from. And when you do that, everything else is going to work out okay for you. That seems to be his whole stance because he's playing, cop on the beat for Jesus. I'm going to get you to concede the fact that there is no other alternative. It's this way or the high, this way or the highway to hell, essentially. So just accept this bullshit. And it's like, okay, so all the stuff that you believe is a great case for why your God exists. The fact that we have conscious, we have conscious thought, subjective experiences, rationality, reasonability. We can employ logic. All of those things. That's great evidence for the God that you're talking about. And yet you are attempting to sell us something in which he is implicitly telling people to stop doubting and just choose to not doubt. Just You know, just accept it. That's what you have to do. You just have to accept the
Yeah,
definition because that's how it works. Like,
yeah,
no,
don't,
you
yeah, don't.
that's the most important thing is Darth can't know that. In all of his talk about epistemology or ontology, there is no way he can know this per the definition of his God. It's an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, transcendental being that exists outside of time and space. He cannot know any of this. He's talking about a God that he cannot verify. It's not supposed to be verifiable. It's supposed to be a fucking mystery. That's the point. That's why
Well,
faith's important.
you gotta find a way to fill the time.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
AJ says it all goes back to their precept boner for certainty. You can't be certain about those things unless the ultimate mind makes you certain, and if you ain't certain, you lose. Yeah, and it's not so much like certainty in the sense that I feel fulfilled in my faith for my God or within my faith tradition. It's I've got to beat somebody at an argument on Discord to feel fulfilled and secure in my faith in my God. It's terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to get into this. He's going to he I think he really thinks he's being generous here. He gives a syllogism to Jeff.
Any given moment, you will decide that your self-consciousness and your sense experience is either indicative and revelatory of God because God made it so, or you will choose not. Now,
Let me repeat that. You have an alternative here that you can, at any given moment, you'll decide that your self-consciousness and sense experience are either indicative and revelatory of God because God made it so, or you will choose not. I love it. It's interesting. It's all or nothing there. You either have to take the entire set that your self-consciousness and sense experience are indicative and revelatory of God because God has deemed it so, or nope.
But the fact that you're demonstrating intelligibility when having a conversation with him trumps that. It basically just shows that that's automatically the case.
No, not necessarily. For presuppers, they like to do that kind of thing. The fact that you're
Okay.
talking to me right now is a presupposition. It's something that we share and it's based on God. It used to be that precepts kind of did that. Like, don't you see, like, this is something that you and I can agree on. But the way Darth approaches it differently. He presents it as I've already won from the jump. You're just too stupid to realize how badly you've lost. You were born a loser because you don't agree with me, right? That's Darth's position. Instead of presenting it the way the precept went, like, no, we agree that we have to presuppose certain things. And what I'm saying to you is that the self-consciousness that we have, our subjective experiences that we have, we share these kinds of things. Those are indicative of a God that's grounding all of reality or whatever, right? But he's not charitable. Even this is what's wrong with precept. Precept is extremely easy to abuse, and it's very attractive to abusive people like Greg Bonson, who have tried to weaponize it into a rhetorical billy club instead of using it the way it was sort of meant to kind of be used, which it's not very. I don't think it's academically robust, which is why it's so prone to this kind of shit. But anyway, what he says here, now when you choose the not option, so the not option, you don't have the ability to pick or choose or take issue with any of this in a nuanced way. It's just all or nothing. If you choose the nope, self-consciousness and sense experience are not indicative and or revelatory of God because he just deemed things so, you therefore do not have any intelligibility. I can simply say I can put it in the form of a transcendental argument. And here he goes with his transcendental argument, which is not good, and better yet, has nothing to do with where Jeff was originally going.
when you choose the not option, you therefore do not have any intelligibility. Okay? I could simply say that I could put it in the form of a transcendental argument by saying facts and the intelligibility thereof necessitate the existence of God. Okay? There are facts and intelligibility for facts, therefore God. Okay? Now I just gave you a syllogism. Now, what I'd like to know from you
Has
is
anyone
this.
figured? Hey, Jeff,
You don't believe that.
Yeah.
are we sure that wasn't? Are we sure that wasn't the P therefore Q, Q therefore P?
No, but consider what he's doing there. So he's like
I
facts.
tested it a little bit.
facts and the intelligibility thereof necessitate the existence of God. So P is facts exist, the intelligibility of facts is a thing. Q, and they necessitate the existence of God, right? That last section is Q. And then P2, there are facts and intelligibility for facts, as he put it. So that's
Okay.
P again. Conclusion, therefore God. But the issue here is P1. Facts, the intelligibility of facts necessitate the existence of God. That's just reasserting what Jeff asked.
Yeah.
Why does the intelligibility of facts necessitate the existence of the disembodied mind of God? And all he's doing here is, and consider this, it necessitates the existence of God. There are facts and intelligibility for facts. So we're able to identify facts. Facts are intelligible to humans. Therefore, it's valid in just the bare bones way, right? I'm sure, Darth is certain that's sound. I would bet $50 on that, right? Darth thinks that that's a sound argument, not merely valid. And because it's a sound argument, it represents actual reality. But the interesting thing about that is it doesn't say anything about that. Doesn't get you to the necessity of why the intelligibility of facts rely on God. It's just saying the facts are facts are evidence for the existence of God. Facts exist, therefore God exists, right? Or the intelligibility of those facts exists. But he's not explaining a mechanism or giving an argument for P1.
Yeah.
And that would be an answer to Jeff's question. This is just bullshit. This is just a runaround.
Yeah, he's like I said before, Jeff is questioning the merit of the thing that's being proposed, that being the disembodied mind, and he can't do it.
Yeah, but Jeff is attacking the truth value of P1. Yes,
Yep.
Exactly. So yeah, this isn't getting them anywhere. And here we go.
God is necessary, that he is the ultimate metaphysical context from which facts would be instantiated and have intelligibility. How do you have intelligibility for putative facts in your not God world?
That's a burden shift.
Yeah, so I started out asking a question.
That was a burden shift.
Let's listen to that one more time.
From which facts would be instantiated and have intelligibility. How do you have intelligibility for putative facts in your not God world?
Right. And also consider what's going on there, right? Jeff wants to know how this works in Darth's worldview. And Darth is now, I mean, it's definitely a burden shift because Jeff's asking, like, okay, you have a problem with my worldview. Well, in your worldview, how does it work without my stuff? Like, Jeff's worldview isn't Darth's worldview. So the fact that Darth is asking, like, how do you have this intelligibility of facts in your worldview without a God, specifically without Darth's God, right? That's that has not, like, he's just completely moved everything back over onto he has no idea what Jeff's worldview is. Well, maybe he can claim that he does if they really did have conversations before, but yeah, total dodge.
Yeah, so I started out asking a question: why do facts need grounding a disembodied mind? And you're turning it around to ask me a question without answering mine.
That's a lie, Jeff. Stop lying.
That's not a lie. I really do think that somewhere in Darth's fevered imagination, he believes that he has answered Jeff's question by simply insisting on the definition, just asserting the definition over and over again is the only explanation that he can give, because he hates talking to anybody that tells him that that's not enough. What I think is even funnier is he should be aware of the burden shift that he did, but he's not. And no matter how many times people point out the fact that he cannot keep external and internal critiques straight or separated, I mean, he's just doomed to repeat this behavior with anybody he talks to, I think.
I just answered your question several times directly.
Can you give it to me? Can you give it to me using the inference rule with a rule
gave you a
and
syllogism of a transcendental argument. Now, I answered.
Well, I don't think you did.
Yeah, but that argument was an argument for the existence of God. You didn't provide him an argument for why the intelligibility of facts requires being grounded in disembodied mind.
Hey Jeff, if you want to play this little game, it's not going to go on much longer.
I'm not playing a game.
Questions. Look, Jeff,
hey, Darth.
Hey, Jeff, overtalk me again, and I will stop talking with you. Okay? Now,
sounds like a broken fucking record.
Your multiple.
Yeah, it's just the same
same thing. He gets. It's like bad teacher. It's like, holy shit, dude, I'm asking you why, and you're well, I'm giving you an answer, but you can't. No, you're not. But now you're just being stupid. You're being a liar. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Fucking baby.
I think, given his age and stuff, I think everything peaked for him in and around the early 80s, where you could probably be this. You could, well, even now, I mean, in certain churches and stuff, you can still do this. You can get away with being this dumb and this unreasonable in your discourse in churches all over the country, you know. But I think the reason why church attendance and has been rapidly falling off is because more and more people are. I mean, they're not watching this. This is tiny, but like they're more privy to these kinds of just how tired a lot of these attempts at arguments are. You know, it's just a religious person making a claim without anything to really back it up, right? And it used to be enough for guys like Darth to just claim that they believed it. They believed it on faith, and that had an appeal for certain people. But now, you know, Captain fills his diaper here is constantly trying to horn in on the land of philosophy, and like he's used pure rationality to reason his way to God and salvation. How he's not terrified that he's really moved in something of a heretical representation of what Christianity is.
How could he reason that? He doesn't.
That's what he's doing to everybody else. Like, you should be able to reason through this and then rationally conclude God. No, you shouldn't. God, according to, that's against the scriptures, right? Jesus says that this stuff will appear as foolishness. It will be foolishness to others. But he wants to be the one that has the integrity. He wants to be the one that's, you know, your evolution and atheism and your sciences and all these other kinds of things, these things that, you know, implicitly or explicitly deny my God. They're the silly ones, I'm telling you. Okay, Darth needs to have that conversation with Jesus, because that's not how it was said to him. It's not how he was portraying it. Like, well, people will come to this. Where in any of the Gospels is Jesus credited with the idea that, well, people will come to this conclusion because it's the only rational and reasonable one? They will use the power of logic and the scientific method to reach this conclusion. Now, I'm misrepresenting there a little bit, because with the scientific method, that's appealing to empiricism. But in Darth's case, he's not going to appeal to empiricism, because empiricism relies on, you know, induction, and induction is obviously just that's a caterwauling scream into into an inductive nightmare of oblivion. But this tendency for these guys to try to pitch this stuff, where Christianity is the inevitable rational choice, is disregarding a huge portion of Christian theology, in which the sinner is, they are not blocking the truth, right? They're not denying the truth in their unrighteousness consciously. That is the effect of sin. And they're not coming to these conclusions because it's not reasonable or not. That is an effect of this sinful world, the fallen world. That is a major theological point of Christianity. And Darth's acting like that whole section of Christianity just doesn't exist. You will see things my way because it's the only logical way to go. And if you're denying it, you're just irrational.
Yeah.
Like no, your worldview and your faith tradition are supposed to appear to the majority of us as foolishness. Suck it up, Buttercup. That's just how it works.
Questions. I even catered you by giving you a transcendental syllogism, okay, a transcendental type of argument for God. I responded to your request. I then answer your question. If you don't accept the reasoning that I have given, okay, then what I want to know is, in your alternative world, how do you have intelligibility in a not God world? What ultimately would dictate what anything is and its intelligibility? Now, I answered your questions. Would you answer mine?
Okay, just to be clear, Darth, you can't present an argument. If you can't, that's fine. I don't have any reason to accept that. You're over talking me. You're over talking me. I didn't over talk you. You did not over talk. No. I'm going to finish.
Do that again.
No. You're over talking me. You're over talking me.
If you
well,
lie,
there you go.
This is ending soon.
Yep.
Jeff, please go on, answer.
Jesus. And I misspoke. It wasn't Jesus that said it. Actually, Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians, what the world calls foolish, God calls wise. What God calls wise, the world calls foolish. So this notion that Darth takes this thing, no, this is the smart play. Everyone should know this. Everyone needs to be on the same page here. Like, no. He's going against what Paul wrote.
Answer polite and maintain your voice, please.
Yeah. So if he was not able to accept, if he couldn't make an argument, which he couldn't, I asked him several times to give me an argument. Please put it in the form of a syllogism, and he could not do it. And so if I have no reason to accept that facts need grounding in a disembodied mind. That's what his claim was. And he couldn't make an argument, and he kept.
No, he scuttled away.
Oh,
because that's not his room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just got upset.
Then why was he trying to flex that whole do that one more time thing? Why was he? If he doesn't have any,
he can't help it.
He completely lost his mind. Like he forgot that he was in a clubhouse that he wasn't in control of.
He's been banned for that. I mean, Tom Rabbit's got videos of him in Discord channels where he's gone in there, and in some cases he's had server stuff, so he goes into somebody else's channel and just starts kicking people for no reason. And in other ones he goes and he doesn't have mod controls, goes in there, they're all over talking to each other. He starts yelling and screaming and talking about how he's going to start muting people and server banning people, and he can't do it. And then when he finds out, when he calms down and realizes he doesn't have that, he gets mad, even more mad, on the different topic of, why didn't the fuckers that run this Discord server give me all the server powers necessary so I can start kicking people out of their server for them in a channel that he doesn't own? That's how he ruins Discord channels, is by pulling this stuff. He's been doing this for 10 years, but he can't keep track of when he has mods and when he doesn't. He just automatically slips into bad cop mode, like, stop resisting. You want to get tased? Like, what the fuck, you old creep? Like, that's like.
Oh shit.
Trying to turn around to ask me a question. And so it's just indicative of the dodging that he does. And he goes into rooms and he plays these games. And if you ask him a straightforward, simple question to put an argument to it, he can't do it.
Do you want to say something, Leg? You were saying something during.
He's got to be.
I lost the part of that. I doubt he even knows what grounding is, though.
Can you pause for a second, Jeff?
Sure.
Because I think this is probably wrapping up here, this video. But I would love to be a fly on Darth Dawkins' wall when he actually leaves like a Discord server or like one of these Clubhouse things.
Well, I mean, if he left, it's to go grab a burger or, clean out the diaper, take a rage shit, punch his mom, something like that.
Yeah. I had to go do something.
You've got to go do something?
No, I was imitating him. I gotta go do something.
Yeah, there's someone at the door.
Don't forget the Vaseline and your Kleenex. Sorry.
It's when there's someone at the door. It's probably a welfare check. Anyway, they just want to make sure. Like,
she's still alive.
She's still alive, and she hasn't killed you. She's a better person than any of us are. What was I going to talk? Because he did this in another one. He had something like this come up, and now I'm blanking on it, so I'm not going to take any more time on that. Let's just play this through.
You're not going to give a good explanation.
And by the way, there's some people in the audience who would like to come up. I know Jeff is down, and some people are back channeling me that they want to come up on stage. There's a fellow named Jeff that does particularly. And
yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, Jeff, you're totally away. He didn't give you.
See, there's another Jeff.
So that's the other Jeff.
Yeah, and here we go. This guy's.
But he gave you another syllogism. You could have got him there. He gave you the tag argument is P1, intelligibility implies God. There is therefore God, which is fine. That's valid. But then you have to press him for P1. What's the argument for intelligibility implying God? Because there's an embedded necessity claim there that he can't provide the answer for that. So what he'll do is shift the burden of proof and then start asking you questions.
Called it.
It's just a rhetorical device. It's not a real argument.
What?
The burden of proof shift. The shifting of the burden of proof, where he turned around and asked Jeff the question. He didn't answer the why. He just asserted, I already gave it to you. I already gave you the syllogism. Now you need to tell me why it is the case that you can have intelligibility without a God. Yeah.
Yeah, these pre-suppers don't survive when they're not in rooms with mob powers. And you won't see them coming up here to talk because they know they can't.
The honest problem I have with such arguments is that they're too philosophically dense, and they render themselves as basically word salads. You can't get an argument out of it which can change your opinion.
Well, some of them are stupid. They don't actually understand it. Others are deceitful. Like Darth, he understands what he's doing. He's just shifting the burden of proof.
Did you catch that, Tom Rabbit? Hope you upload that to YouTube.
So yeah, that's about it for that one. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this. And anyone that's interested, if you haven't watched Tom's, watch his commentary is good on this one. And I will probably be doing a review of. There is a conversation that I can't remember. I think it's Scott Smith. I can't remember if it's Scott Smith 75 or Clubhouse Debates. One of the. I think it's Clubhouse Debates has one up, and it's a guy named Sean who has a Slavoj Žižek avatar. He is talking to Darth Dawkins and then to Jay Robin. It's about 50 minutes long, so I'm going to try and wait and do that one when I got some when I'm feeling especially caffeinated for that one, because that one's gonna take a while to get through. But yeah, other than that, Jay, you got any final words on this one?
No, I got nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have too much going on either. I am going to sign it off of that one. We're going to keep this one short and sweet, just under an hour. So it's probably a nice change of pace for some of my videos that have been getting up to 2-3 hours long. So thanks everybody in the live chat. You guys always keep it fun. You guys have great comments in there. Thanks for watching. I think we got up to about 115 viewers live. So thanks for that. Thanks for any likes or comments or anything. Email me at jeffersonsbatchcock@gmail.com. I didn't put that in the description, but
don't send those emails to me. I'll fucking block you.
Yeah, Jay will block people. He's very antisocial. But anyway, with that, I'm going to sign off. The rest of you have a great night. I will be on here. I'm trying to get on here more often to do slightly shorter videos and do them a little bit more often to make sure I cover some other stuff. But yeah, other than that, we'll see everybody later. Take care. Have a great one.